Hi fellow travelers, this is Jess from Elevation Travel. Today we're going to talk about the top questions that I get asked about vacations. And by vacations, I mean cruises, theme parks, or just general travel. I did write down a list of things that you all have been asking me, so let's get into it. The first question that I normally get asked is, do I need a passport? Obviously, if you're going outside the country, you will need a passport. If you're going to Alaska, I do recommend that you do have a passport because sometimes your flight will go to Canada and you will need a passport for Canada. If you're going to Hawaii, I also highly recommend it just because you're going across an ocean to get there, but there's not necessarily a need for it. If you are cruising, you do not need a passport, but I highly recommend it just in case there's an emergency and you're in another country and you have to get home. If you are cruising, you'll just need your birth certificate and your driver's license. And if you are taking littles on your cruise, contact me and I will get you the proper information concerning your situation on your littles. Question number 2. Is my total due all at once or can I pay it off? This really depends on your particular situation, and by that I mean if you are going to a theme park, if you're going to an all-inclusive, if you're going on a cruise, they all have different deadlines, different dates to pay things, and different sizes of deposits. So honestly, the best time to book is as soon as you know that you have the time off and you can go, because that allows you to have the time to pay on it before you go. That is the best advice I can give you. And that kind of leads me into question number 3, which is how far in advance should you be booking? And the answer to that is if you're going on a cruise, I would say 6.5 to 9 months out. It's not a complete year, but it gives you enough time to pay off your balance. It gives you enough time to pick out short excursions and budget for that. And it also allows you more room choices before your cruise. Cruising has gotten really popular lately, and I'm seeing more and more rooms sell out further out, if that makes any sense. If you're going to Disney, as far out as possible. Disney is, since the 50th anniversary, is getting overwhelmingly popular, and they do go on a park reservation system. So what that means is the further you book out, the easier it is to get the parks when you want them, because you will have to choose a park to go into what day. And I don't want you to book a trip last minute and not be able to get to what park you would like. If you're going to an all-inclusive, again, the sooner you know you have the guaranteed time off, the better. You can usually pay those up to 60 days before check-in, so I would be planning at least 6 months to 9 months out. Some flight schedules aren't available, like Southwest kind of runs if you're booking more than the 9 months out. So do keep that in mind, but I would say 9 months is a sweet spot for booking an all-inclusive. Again, with those you will have a higher deposit just because they want you to pay the flights first, and then you can pay on the hotel part. So all-inclusives, another 6 to 9 months out is a sweet spot. If you're going anywhere else other than an all-inclusive in the Caribbean or just general travel, European travel, worldwide travel, again, as far out as possible as you know, that allows you to have some of the best flight prices because no one's booking, which means the prices are going to be lower. The more people that book flights, Disney, cruising, whatever, the more the price is going to go up because the demand's there. They can charge whatever they want and people are going to pay it because they really want to go. So keep that in mind. Just because it's last minute or a couple months out, which is kind of last minute in travel booking time, does not mean that you're going to get a lower price. Also, which leads me into question number 3, and that would be, am I getting the lowest price when I book with you? That depends on a lot of things. I have to compare what you have been looking at on the internet to what exactly. Mirror copy. I have to be apples to apples, oranges to oranges. The dates, the times of the flights, the flight number, the room choice, the everything, down to what kind of rental car you picked if you had one. Most of the time I am cheaper than what you will find on the internet. Most of the time. Sometimes I'm not, and that's just full transparency. Sometimes I can't beat the price. I'm more than happy to look for you, but I most of the time can beat the price by a couple $100, if anything. So that really depends on like I said, I have to compare it mirror to mirror, or A to B. B has to match A and A has to match B exactly. Type of rental car, like I said, or room choice. If it's a regular room versus an ocean view room, those things are two different things. So the prices are obviously, one's gonna be higher than the other. You have to give me all the details so I can do a full comparison if you're trying to compare me to what you're looking at. However, I will say that some things I do get the same price as what you're seeing on some things. But in which case, if you do come to me and I do have the same price, I will usually offer you a gift card as an incentive to make up for the fact that I have the same price. Question number 4, are there hidden fees? I personally, when you book with me, I don't have any personal fees, which is kind of 2 questions in one. Do you charge for your services, and are there any hidden fees? So we kind of got a double question here, and the answer is, when you book with me, I don't charge you randomly at random times for anything. And I'm also free to use from point A to point Z, and even when you come back from your vacation, I make sure you get home safely, and then a couple days later, I will ask you how your trip went, and I'll request any feedback, because if you didn't like something, I want to know, so that way I don't send other clients to that resort, or don't let them try that restaurant, or maybe the airline was terrible. I need to know these things so I know what to recommend to you all. So from point A to point Z, no charge, no hidden fees with me. I will usually let you know about parking fees, resort fees, baggage fees, any other kind of fees like that that's going to impact your vacation and factor into that budget. I will let you know about ahead of time. So there should not be any hidden fees when you get there or on the way there about your baggage. None of that. And again, I'm free to use, so use me at your disposal. I don't see why you wouldn't, because again, I can save you a couple $100, and if not, you still get a gift card to buy yourself a souvenir or 2. The next question, do I need travel insurance? Since the pandemic, I've highly recommended travel insurance. Usually it's cancel for any reason travel insurance. Come sickness, come pregnancy, come my job let me off, but now they're not, whatever it is, usually it's canceled for any reason travel insurance, and it depends on where you're going, depends on that cancellation policy. So I recommend it for definitely any travel outside the country, any travel even to Hawaii, to Alaska, and sometimes I'll recommend it for the theme parks just if you're unsure about what's going on in life at the moment. I never want you to lose money. Travel insurance is an investment. So you'll pay the amount of the travel insurance with your deposit. And then after that, if you do cancel, you won't get the money for the travel insurance back, but you're more likely, if not always, going to get that money back to your original form of payment when you cancel. If you're going on a flight, then you usually get the hotel portion back to your original form of payment. However, you will get the airline in a credit. I do have different levels of travel insurance also, so please keep in mind that if you don't want the money back to your car and you just want to reschedule a date, we'll just get the lesser travel insurance, and we can just do a travel credit for the whole thing. So please keep that in mind. Travel insurance is not required by any means. It is super helpful, and you never know what's going to happen. You know, unfortunately, we've all had deaths in the family at the wrong times, and so if there's a death in the family, if someone's wedding and you've somehow got this invitation last minute and they really want you to be there, or you're in the wedding, and there's all kinds of scenarios that can happen. So I do recommend travel insurance, but it's not required. The next question that I get a lot is, what is the best time to go? What is the best time to go to Disney? What is the best time to go to Universal? What is the best time to go to Costa Rica? What is the best time to go? Insert whatever here. And the answer for the theme parks, at least, and cruising, is going to be any time not around a holiday, including holidays like Martin Luther King Day, Valentine's Day, President's Day. Just think, if the bank is closed or someone's celebrating, then we don't need to go on vacation, because more times than not, what is going to happen is everybody's going to get the same idea and everybody's going to have the same time off. And so the demand is going to go up, prices are going to go up, and so it's going to be more crowded. So the best time to go, at least to the theme parks, is when the kids are in school, not around a holiday, and usually during the colder months. That way you're not in the heat. If you're going to Florida or even California, that way you're not in the heat. It's not crowded. You can get a lot done and you can kind of relax more. For the Caribbean, I would say kind of the same thing with the colder months. The Caribbean's pretty much always going to be warm, so you don't have to worry about that. But I recommend December through April. I know spring break's in there. However, the December, January, February, some of the lowest cruise rates I've ever seen. So I would just keep that in mind. The closer you get towards spring break, obviously it's going to be more expensive. The closer you get to summer, and all of summer is going to be expensive. Fall break is the new spring break, by the way, on everything. So if you're thinking about going in the fall somewhere and it's like October, mid-October, second week of October, sometimes the third week of October, it's starting to be the new spring break. And then, of course, in November we have Thanksgiving, and then we're back to December. Early December is not that bad, but any 5 days before Christmas and through New Year's, just count that out. So, and that's pretty much everywhere also. If you're looking to go to Alaska, May through September. If you're looking to go to the Mediterranean or Europe, I would say the summer. Most people aren't traveling to Europe during the summer. They're more likely to go to beaches or the theme parks or something like that. So I would recommend hopping over to Europe during the summer. The next question I get is about cruising, and it has to do with hurricane season. Everyone's scared to go during hurricane season. However, what they don't know is hurricane season starts June 1st and goes through November 30th. That's a whole chunk of time that most people are cruising anyway. Because after November 30th, then it's December, and then you have December through May. So half the year is hurricane season, theoretically, and they don't even know it. So I would not be worried about hurricane season. They are not going to sail the ship directly through a hurricane, anywhere near a hurricane. They will reroute you to a different island. They will just stay in the ocean, circling wherever the hurricane's not if they have to. They'll extend your cruise sometimes. I know that there are certain people who directly go during hurricane season just in case they get that extension, because the cruise line will pay for the extension. You don't have to pay extra for that. But there's 9 to 15 storms on average, 4 to 8 hurricanes, and 2 to 4 major hurricanes. That's what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says. So you have to think about, in all of those basically 6 months that hurricane season is, that's not that bad. And they're not going to take billion-dollar ships that are making them more billions of dollars into a hurricane, into a storm, into what could harm, 6,000 passengers on some ships. It's just not going to happen. So your safety is really their priority, and it's for 2 reasons. 1, no lawsuits, and 2, that's a money-making machine. That's a billion-dollar ship, and they're just not going to risk that. So you don't have to worry about hurricane season. Will you get seasick is the next question. That's up to each individual. If you get car sick, I would say you get seasick. I've had smaller ships, I've had larger ships. I've only been seasick 1 time, and I haven't really had any issues. They do make specialized patches for seasickness, or specialized bracelets that kind of look like the mosquito bracelets. If you're concerned about it, I would just pack those if you're concerned about it and go on. One of our cruise directors who sails all the time, she said sometimes she doesn't get her sea legs and she gets a little bit sick sometimes. And so she said that those patches work amazing. So if you're worried about it, I can link you to some seasick patches or bracelets off Amazon that work super well. The next question is a huge question that I get, and that question is, I read in a chat room, my friend told me, I've heard this terrible thing happened. Will it happen to me? And I have to put my piece of paper down for this one, because this is a hot topic. Just because something bad happened does not mean that will happen to you. Obviously, things will happen, and sometimes we can't be pleased, we can't be happy all the time. But just because it happened to one person doesn't mean it's going to happen to you, especially if that one thing is bad. One thing is terrible, ruin their vacation. They are more likely to rip a business apart if something bad happened and never say anything about the good. And that applies anywhere, whether you're shopping, fast food, restaurant, buying a bedspread, whatever it is. If the bedspread sucks, they're gonna write a review that it sucks. If they're happy with the bedspread and they keep it for 10 years, they're more likely not to write a review about it just because they're happy with it. Why would they need to put in the effort to show how happy they are or satisfied with the product? So just because you read something terrible, just do your research about what happened, A. B, contemplate whether if that's going to be the right vacation for you or not. C, if you do decide to go through with said trip after you read these things, go into it with an open mind anyway, because if you're looking for something bad to happen, you'll probably find it. Whether that's just how the bed was made at the hotel, or that kid on the airplane ruining your flight, that's not the airline's fault. So why would you write a bad review about the airline because some Karen can't keep her kid quiet on the airplane? Do you know what I mean? Kids will be kids anyway. I have a thing with that. But kids will be kids. But if that's the one thing that's bothering you is the kid on the airplane, that's not the airline's fault. So don't rip the airline, but people do. So just make sure that you're ready to go in with an open mind if you are concerned about said terrible thing happening. I've gotten feedback from parents at Disney, for example, how it's too hot, how their kids are tired, how, they don't want to stand in those long lines, yada yada. They had the worst time ever. Not my particular clients, but I know people who say that or who've said that. Did you give your kids a break? Did you go during a cooler time? No, you went during July in the hottest part of Florida. Did you let them take a nap? And then, obviously you went in the most busiest time besides Christmas, so there's going to be long lines. And that's kind of what I'm here for, is to make sure that you all have the best experience possible no matter where you're traveling, and help avoid some of those, I heard this happened, is this going to happen to me? My job is to make sure none of that happens to you. And if something were to bad happen, you call me and I'll help get it fixed because I'm your advocate. I had to put down a piece of paper for that one. Another question I get is on theme parks, can my child ride insert right here? And this is specific. I will send you ride height information to whatever theme park you're going to if you're concerned about it. So I don't have all of the rides memorized with their heights, with everybody's heights. I don't. That's a lot of rides over a lot of theme parks, Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, Disney, all 4 parks in Disney, water parks here and there, and Universal. I don't have all that in my brain. So I can just send you a chart and then you can make an educated decision for your family if you would like to go to said theme park. The next question does refer to theme parks, and that is staying on property of the theme park worth the extra money? Here's what I'm gonna say. Depending on budget, depending on your vacation experience you want to have, and depending on what benefits that particular resort gives you, yes, you've saved time by not driving from park to park. A lot of times Universal and Disney will have transportation from your resort to the theme park. You don't have to park, you don't have to lose your car. You get in early most of the time for theme parks, and sometimes you even get to stay later if you stay on resort property, which helps you maximize your time. And whether you maximize your time or you cut a day short, you're still paying the same amount to enter into the theme park. The other thing is sometimes staying on property is cheaper than staying on the surrounding area. There's more availability on the surrounding area, but also there's more competition on the surrounding area of the theme parks. So the Hilton sees the Marriott, and the Marriott raises their prices, and they kind of sell out, so the Hilton raises their prices to what they had before because they know that there's less availability over here. So sometimes it's cheaper to stay on property. Also, I can usually bundle your tickets and your hotel or resort, and that brings the price down a little bit cheaper rather than paying for just straight tickets to the theme park and straight hotel. If I bundle them together, a lot of times they do give me a discount. Also, you will have just one deposit, one low deposit to pay, and then you can pay on the whole vacation as a whole over time. Because sometimes if you book a hotel outside, you'll have one deposit, and then if you go through the tickets, you'll have to pay the tickets up front. They don't have a payment plan on just tickets. So I do recommend you staying on property. Also, they have so many activities. They have so many activities at Disney on property, and then at Universal. You just get the feeling, you don't have to drive into it. It's great. And they do have certain things at their resorts for whatever type of vacation you're looking for. So I would just keep that in mind, that sometimes it is cheaper and more beneficial to stay at the resort on property. I will say that also, if you're looking to split your time up between the parks, I would just pick a resort on one of those properties to stay at, because that gets you benefits at least at one park, and not try to not stay in the middle of two or what have you, because you get no benefits at all that way, and it's harder to maximize your time. I know I'm kind of jumping around all over the place, but I just wrote these down as I got them. The next question is also about cruising. What about excursions? Will they leave me? I've seen the pier runners on the internet. The boat is leaving them. How often does that happen? The answer to this question is, if you are severely late, yes, they will leave you. But a lot of times, in my experience, when I am sailing away from port after a long day at an island, we don't always leave at 5 p.m. sharp. Now, that's to say that you definitely don't want to risk it by any means. I'm usually on the ship within an hour, 30 minutes to an hour of all aboard time, and you will know that because they will tell you over and over and over and over what time aboard time is. So say it's 5. I usually go to the ship around 4:30, just to make sure I do have that clearance, because I am not running all the way up the pier, and then try to check in with my card and my ID, and make sure Buddy's good. Like, it's too much, it's too rushed, it's not fun. Nobody wants to do that. If you book an excursion through the cruise line, they will not leave you even if it's late. If you book an excursion outside of the cruise line, they can leave you. They can legally leave you wherever you are, which kicks back to the passport question on a cruise. That is super helpful. If you get stuck in Mexico with no passport, you are up the creek, friend, without a paddle by far, because you got left. I don't even know what that situation would be after the fact. I would just be in panic mode crying if I didn't have a passport and I got left. But if you book a cruise excursion outside of the cruise line, I have done it many times. They have always gotten us back on time of when they said they were going to, or earlier than that. I've had no problems rushing to the ship after a cruise line excursion that wasn't booked through the cruise line. And that's another thing. That's another question is, do I have to book an excursion through the cruise line? No, you don't, but there is a risk. If they do get back late, you could be left. They are more private. They are usually more native speakers. Usually it's family owned by some sort, and they can communicate a little bit better. And also, it's more of a local it's like definitely a local business, and I love supporting local businesses no matter what country I'm in. So keep that in mind. You usually have a better price, a more private tour of whatever you're doing, and then you also are supporting a local business. So, but there is the risk that you get left. But my advice to you guys is, if you do book an excursion outside of the cruise line, which I can do for you, choose the earliest one, go, come back, and then if you have extra time, then you can walk around the port or whatever you want to do, and you don't feel as rushed. But yes, nobody wants to be a pier runner, although those videos are hilarious, and it's even more funny on the ship when it's like 5 minutes till all aboard time and you just like see them running. Like it's so funny. But if they see the people coming toward the cruise, like they're not just gonna like shut the door. By the way, if people are coming, they're gonna wait because they don't want to leave anybody behind because I'm sure that's a lot of paperwork for them. But yeah, like 5 minutes before, like people look it up, it's great. And okay, do I have to pay gratuities? This applies to all-inclusive resorts, theme parks, cruising. Since we're on the topic of cruising, I'm going to start with that first. Gratuities are mandatory, but they're already set per person per day. You can pay them before, or you can pay, it can come out of your credit card you put on file with the ship on the last day. If you would like to tip extra to your wait staff, to your bar staff, to your room steward, please do so. Your tip goes so far to them, especially on cruises. They're from different countries, they're away from home from 6 months to a year, maybe more. That extra money also gives them a boost in their day, and it also provides you with better service. They remember people who tip them, and they remember people who don't. So keep that in mind. If you go to the same bar over and over and over next to the pool, that one pool guy, if you don't tip, he knows. But if you tip him by the drink, or if you just give him a larger tip up front, he's more likely to, it's terrible to say, but he's more likely to pick you over the other people in line. He's more likely to serve you a better non-rushed drink. And the same thing with your room steward. They will come clean your room tip-top shape no matter what. But at the end of your cruise, we always tip them, especially if they do a really great job in cleaning or reorganizing our cabin or what have you, making sure we have fresh towels for the pool, making sure we've got the extra soap, the extra blankets, whatever it is. On the last cruise we took, I brought down the extra blanket, or I brought down the towel or something. I was freezing to death. Jordan had the room super cold, and the next time that the room steward came in, we left to go eat, and we came back, and there was a nice plush fleece blanket on the bed because she knew with the I guess it was like the luggage thing, whatever it was on the bed. She knew that I was cold, and it was folded up. It smelled so good. It was a nice plush fleece blanket, and she didn't have to do that. That was her going the extra mile and just her noticing that I was cold. So yeah, like they do all these extra things, and yeah, they might be doing it for a tip, but it also show your appreciation for these people. They work hard, and a lot of times they're working double duty. Like you may see your room steward serving other people at dinner, and they just don't stop. It seems like, especially since the pandemic and they're so short staffed, they are going they are burning midnight fuel, and which is crazy to think. They're just going. So yes, please tip those people if you feel so inclined to. When it comes to theme parks, obviously tip your wait staff. You can know the theme park room cleaning thing, they've spread out a little bit. They will come clean your room if you stay enough nights. That's not necessarily, you have to tip them for that, but always tip your wait staff at theme park sit-down restaurants. There are no gratuities to cast members or team members at Universal. They don't accept tips, but the best tip you can give them is a compliment. A lot of times on your apps, your theme park apps, you can give them a compliment, which goes a long way for them. And I know that they also get promotions and raises based off those compliments that you do report to that app. So please keep that in mind. That probably is better than cash anyway to them, because if you do a great job at one of those theme parks, they could, very well have a really good long career with that, with that company. All-inclusive resorts, your gratuities are paid for. They don't really say what they are most of the time. It just says gratuities are included. So I would bring 1s or 5s with you to tip the people getting your bags when you arrive and dropping your bags off and putting them in the car when you go back to the airport, or the bar staff. Like I said, the bar staff, if you drink, the bar staff are your best friend. And if you're a foodie, then the wait staff are your best friends. And those positions, even at an all-inclusive, I would still probably tip if they did a really, really good job. I'm definitely going to tip the bartender or the person serving me drinks at the pool. However, just keep that in mind. Again, you're in a different country most of the time. They're probably working a lot more than we're working, and just be friendly and nice. You don't have to tip, but it does go a long way. And you can see them light up, and it's really nice because tipping culture is not everywhere. That just shows them that they're doing a great job and that you're pleased with their service. So, do you have to pay gratuities? Not everywhere, but cruises, yes. And the final question I get is the most asked question, and I said I was no particular order, and it wasn't until this one, because I was gonna say this one for last. The most popular question that I get is, why should I use you and your services when I can just book it online? You're free, and booking it online is free. To each their own. I have seen people that know that I'm a travel agent book on their own, come back and complain. I've also seen people book on their own, know I'm a travel agent, and while they're on vacation, ask me questions. I'm not saying that if you don't use me, you're gonna have a terrible time or you're gonna pay more money or anything like that. I'm just a girl doing what she loves and just going with it. And if you become one of my clients, you become one of my clients. And if you don't, you don't. But I really hope that you do. Perks of using me are getting lower prices. They're getting lower deposits. They're getting better cancellation options. Clients are getting expertise from someone who's either been there, known people that's been there, or can get you the correct reviews on the place that you're going. Also, perks of using me are incentives like gift cards or money back toward their vacation. And one of the number one things about using a travel agent, whether it's me or Becky, whoever, is a lot of times if the price lowers on your vacation and it's not paid in full, I can rebook at the lower rate for you, or I can just get you the money back towards your original form of payment. Most people don't know that. You can't just randomly do that as a normal person. But my job is to watch those prices. So if you book at $3,000 and your vacation goes down to $25 because the flights went down, I'm gonna get you that $500 back if I can. And that's rewarding to me that I'm saving people even more money. But also it allows you to have more money for other things, souvenirs, more drinks, better food out, whatever it is. That extra $500 goes a long way. Or that covers part of your baggage fees. So besides saving money, expertise, lower deposits, I can also see more availability most of the time than you can, whether it's cruising, like stateroom cabins, or hotel availability, or whatever it is. A lot of times the public websites, they can't see what's blocked off or what have you. Or when you go on airline websites, I'm not going to name names, but particularly the budget ones, and they're like, 2 seats left, 2 seats left. There are more than 2 seats left on that flight, and we all know it. So things like that, or there's like 3 rooms left at the Holiday Inn. We all know there's probably more than 3 rooms left unless it's around a holiday, like Christmas or something. So my job is to figure out what else is available, and most of the time I can see those things. They're just saying that to make sure you book with them, to get it now. Rooms are running out. There's only 3 left. We better get it. We better get it before. And usually those 3 rooms are going to be the crappiest rooms or the lowest level rooms, and they're also going to be more money than the higher room that you could have got. But those 3 rooms are there. We better get them right now. So just keep that in mind, that I can see things like that you guys can't. And that on my side of things, not everything is running out. Not everything has to be done right now. But that factors back into that other question of how far in advance should I book? So just keep that in mind. So perk of using me, more availability most of the time. I can see things like that you can't. And with all that availability comes the different pricing levels, and I can tell you what's a good price versus a bad price. In personal experience and just being a travel agent in general, I can tell you if it's a good price or a bad price and not go by what the website says, because they are gunning for your money. You don't pay me at all, so I don't have anything really to gain other than like giving you like the reality of the situation and giving you all the facts, good or bad. I'm also very honest. I'm not going to set you up in a place that I think that you're going to hate because it's cheaper, or set you in the highest room possible with the best theme park views or in the best stateroom I can get you. That's not my job. My job is to make sure that we are within the budget that I talked about. And that is another thing. Most of the time, 98% of the time, I will come under your budget for anything that we're going to talk about. My job is not to spend your money. My job is to make sure that you get the best experience possible with the money that you have budgeted. My job is not to spend your money, not to get you to go over money. Again, it doesn't matter to me about going over it. That makes me look bad. It makes me look bad if I price everything over your budget. Now, if we talk about a budget and you say, hey, I've got about $300 wiggle room, and there is this ocean view room that is phenomenal and it is $275 over your budget, I'm going to throw that in as an option, as a bonus option, because you said you had that wiggle room. But all the other options are going to be under that budget. So I'm not going to spend your money. Another perk of me being your travel agent is I am your advocate. So if something were to go wrong, like I said earlier, then I got you. Just call me and I'll call the airline, I'll call the hotel, I'll call whoever I need to call to try to make it correct, whatever the situation is. Another reason why you should use me is because I do all the research for you, all the planning, and that's really, really awesome because that takes a lot of time. That gives you a lot of time back. From researching all the stuff on the internet to the best pricing to trying to book it all and then realizing that you waited too long or you're too far out. Just come talk to me. Again, all my services are free, but I take a lot of that hassle out. And then whenever you go to pay on your vacation, I just hit a button. You just tell me what you want to pay and how much, and I'll just do it for you. You don't even have to do it. That's just like another benefit. The last and final benefit to using me is that I'm free. I am free. All my expertise, all the knowledge, all the availability that I can see, all of the tips and tricks and what to do, what not to do, all of the questions you're going to ask me, I also say that there's never a stupid question. So how do I get to this airport? Where's the rental car place at this airport? Whatever the question is, just even during your travel, you can ask me any questions and I will respond to you when you're traveling. So I'm free, so use me. Before you get into some sort of pickle, especially if it's your first time somewhere. Just if it's your first time to Disney, if it's your first time to Aruba, if it's your first time to Alaska, just call me or message me, text me, whatever. And you don't even have to be super serious about it. Just ask me all of the things. You know, like, what's the best time to go? There's 4 of us. Do you think that we should just drive to Orlando or should we fly? We're getting on we're thinking about a cruise, but we're not sure about how kids clubs work on cruises or whatever. Even if it's very, very basic, I'm free to use no matter what. I will put this in as a side question note. I'm in the beginning stages of planning trip to blank. How much is this going to cost me? This question is all up in the air. I normally don't do any quoting for you until you have a budget. I know everybody wants to know a roundabout cost, but also that way they can budget if they're in the very, very beginning. However, I don't know what kind of vacations you've had before. I don't know. Each cheapest as possible is not an answer because what's cheap to me is not cheap to you and it's not cheap. We all have different levels of cheap, expensive, mid-grade. We all have different views of that. My job is to get you the best value for your budget. It's not to go as cheap as possible, and it's not to go to the most expensive thing either. So you will have to normally have a roundabout number that you want to spend on this vacation. If you know nothing about Alaska, but you know that you only have X amount of dollars to put toward a vacation, just say, hey, I have X amount of dollars that I want to put toward a vacation to Alaska. Is this possible? And then I can kind of go in and see if the flights are gonna even be in your budget, or what kind of hotel we need, if we wanna do a tour around Alaska, that's in the budget, that way you don't have to rent a car. All of these things, I will need a number not to go over. And then I can tell you more about the destination or what to expect. I will also let you know if your number's really, really high, or right, it's great, that's a great number to have, or if you need to maybe up it a little bit, or maybe now's not the right time for you to go just because, you know, the flights are over that X amount of number to your destination. You need that X amount, at least in the very beginning. If you know you can't spend more than an X amount of money on a vacation, reach out to me, tell me that, and I will see what magic I can work. Because again, what's a low amount to some people is a high amount to others. Just keep that in mind when you are in the beginning stages of planning your vacation, whether you plan with me or you plan by yourself. Obviously by yourself, you know what that number is, and please tell me that number. I know it's an invasive question, but I have to know what I'm working with in order to give you options. I can't just go in blind and then I quote you something that's really cheap and you're like, oh, why would she put me there? Or it's really expensive and have the same reaction, why would she put me there? That's too fancy for me. I don't win either way, and most of the time when you contact me, you've already looked at what prices are, and so you already know what you're looking to spend. Well guys, that is all the questions that I have. Please like this video if you found this informational and useful to you. And please share the video. Even if you aren't traveling, you probably know somebody who is, or who is thinking about it, and this may help them. We don't know. We're gonna find out. But I hope you all enjoyed this. Please keep me in mind for your future travels, whether it's domestic or international. I would love to help. Again, my services are free, and my name's Jess from Elevation Travel. Bye guys.